It's Tommy Spooky. I'm trying something out. Um, Trying a dive on how I build my music. I'm gonna do a couple of these, see if anybody's interested. Maybe you can learn something. Maybe you can teach me something. This is Nightmare Fuel off of Spookshow. Um, this one I started differently. A lot of times I will just start with a guitar track and then build around that, or start with a bass track and build around that. This one I started with some drum loops and then built around that. So this was the original kind of drum loop I started with. The drum machine I'm using on this is one moment while my 8 gig RAM catches up. This is the Air Drum Synth 500. Kind of tweaked from the Game Toys patch. Not that that part really matters. But it's using some of the included loops to build out. The next thing I did, and this was kind of a post thing, but I'm going to talk about it now. I didn't just run the track as you're listening to kind of the full thing. You can hear some extra going on there. I did a reverb trick with this, so I actually duplicated this track and added in a shit ton of reverb and just run the two in parallel instead of running like how much reverb I want. So that creates this. So the whole second track is actually just drowning in this Abbey Road reverb preset. And it's just kind of completely useless for the mix by itself in this, but when you put the two together, you get this going on. And it creates a nice ambiance. It's kind of not quite dreamy, because you still got that going on. On top of that, then I started layering additional pieces, and I think I'm remembering the order in which I built this. So after I got that in there, I added in, and of course I start this at like the end whenever it's like tailing out. Apologies, I'm already talking for too long. Started out like this, so that way the guitar is going. And as usual, I've also got a direct signal in this. So this is also in there. And this just has a universal audio analog machine, which is a free plugin off of Sweetwater, as well as a channel strip attached to it. So, by itself, this is just the original. And clearly, I've got a fuzz pedal running on this before it went direct to board. And adding the Agalong machine, which is the Worm, it just adds a little bit to it. It's not an amp simulator. It is a tone profile, basically. And then putting the channel strip on top of that creates this timbre, which by itself is still weak. But adding some actual track from the Kemper, I get this tone going on. And now all of the reverb that you're hearing on this is coming off of reverbs in the Kemper. This is not a plug-in reverb I've added to it, because the Kemper reverbs, I'll agree with everybody, they're really good reverbs if you spend time tuning them. So at this point I've got drums and I got guitar. I can never leave well enough alone, and this one by itself honestly is a little bit anemic. So at this point I also added in some bass track to this. This is based on that tone. My 5-string piezo Ibanez, which this was a weird find in Guitar Center use section, but I love this son of a bitch. Fretless, basically acoustic bass, because it's only got a piezo pickup in it. It's a lot of fun. It's a little limited, like you certainly can't slap on it, and it's not good for like that 5-string grind of Korn. But also, as is my usual with this, I've got Kemper tone running on this. I think this was a Mark bass profile because I really like Mark bass amps. Every time I've tried them out, I've enjoyed the tone I get on those. I've not bought one because I have a Kemper and I can cheat. But if Mark bass ever brought that preamp back that they did for a little while, and on top of that, I've got the raw signal mixed in, and this raw signal I am using Spectre Digital Element Bass, because Glenn Fricker and his crew does really cool stuff. Element Bass is really useful. This is that Element Bass raw signal soloed out. I really dig it. It doesn't sound like, obviously, an acoustic bass because it's a piezo 5-string. It's got its own vibe, and I really like that. It is not an upright bass sound. It's definitely its own thing, which I think is why it vibes for me and why I keep going back to using it, even on something I could use a 4-string, or on something I could probably stand to get a 5-string fretted at some point. I think I'm honestly just waiting to find a used Carvin for that. So, back to the whole mix. Those are the main elements of it. On top of that, I've got one other MIDI track going down here. What have I got going here? So this is the riser plugin. I think I just got this as it's Air Music, which is the same one that did the drum kit I'm using in this, the drum synthesizer. But it's useful for just one note. This is what it's doing. So that's actually that first part. Let's listen to that again. No. Come back here. So this is what's going on underneath everything at the beginning. And the riser is really meant for just beginning stuff. But if I take that solo off, you hear the riser come in, you hear the guitar come in, and once they swell out, we start with bass and the drum machine. Yeah, something's trying to update in the background on my PC at the same time. Don't live with 8 gigs of RAM, kids. 16 minimum. I make it work. Go big. So that is Nightmare Fuel. If you want more of this kind of stuff of me rambling through how I make my shit, speak up. Because I may do a couple of these and then give it up. Because I feel like I'm boring talking about all this.